storytelling leadership influence people's life and in leadership. So basically, we have a speaker which I went through his profile, and I think it's very important to have someone like him. And that's the more reason why I also had to give the topic, how story and leadership really influences how we see the world. So without wasting too much of our time, we have 7 minutes gone already. So we're going to allow speaker go straight into the topic, and then he will speak, and then we'll ask questions. So if you have any question, you could send through our social media platform, and then we're going to ask it here. Or you could join the studio now if you want to join. Okay, you're welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching me from. And to be sure that you all can hear me clearly. And first and foremost, I want to appreciate Mr. Miracle Yemo for inviting me on this. Like, anytime I'm given the opportunity to speak about leadership, I do not take it for granted. So it's Angin here. Can you hear me, Miracle? Can you hear me loud there? So I'm not sure you can hear me clearly and if you can hear me before I just comment. Can you hear me, Miracle?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can perfectly hear you.
Okay, great. So very quickly, I'll be talking about how storytelling in leadership shapes our lives and changes how we see the world. And please, it's very important because what I'm about to share with you can change everything you do. Whether you run an organization, you are building a business, you are trying to advertise your product, you are trying to influence and lead other people. What I'm about to share with you can entirely change everything because it did for me. So my name is Modikai Orimilade. I'm from Nigeria, and what I do is that I'm a certified life coach. I am the founder of Teams on Purpose International. And many years ago, when I was about 16 years old, all right, I made a decision that changed the entirety of my life. All right, and I'll start by sharing that story as I progress in this talk. So I know we are having fluctuation in network, but please bear with us. All right. So at 15 years old, I was confused about my life. I was confused about a lot, but I had a plan. All right. My plan was that I'm going to go into the university by 16 years old to study engineering. And why I wanted to study engineering is because I have uncles and big uncles who are engineers and are earning a lot of money, like millions. And I also love the idea of having engineer added to my name. All right. So I told myself by 16 years old, I'm going to go into the university. By 21 years old, I will graduate as an engineer. And by 22 years old, I'm going to go for my master's. By 23 years old, I said I'm going to start. I said by 23 years old, I'm going to start working in a big company. And I said I'll be earning millions of naira. I was very certain about that. All right, I'll be earning millions of naira. I said by 25 years old, I'm going to get married. All right, to my beautiful and sweet wife. And by 26 years old, I'll give birth to my first twins. By 27, I'll give birth to another twins. And by 28, I'll travel around the world and live happily ever after. How many of you had such plan when you are growing up, maybe when you're younger? Because anytime I share the story, I've seen many people also they relate to my story. Okay, so that was my plan, and I was ready for it to happen. Then the first thing I had to do is to write my WAEC. I wrote my WAEC, I wrote my JAM, that's the exam right in Nigeria. And guess what? I was ready, I prepared for it. I went to check my results, and something happened. And what happened that my result was seized. That was the first time in my secondary school then when our result was seized. So imagine your dreams, your aspiration being shattered in your very eyes. I felt angry about life. I felt depressed because I had this plan how to make more money, how to travel around the world, but all my plans is catching already. In the place of bothering and being angry about life and feeling depressed, I start asking questions. I start asking questions about what is the essence of life? Why am I in this world? Am I just here to just make money? Because the reason why I want to make money is because my uncles are making money as an engineer. So that's the reason why I went to that. So I started asking questions about life. In the place of asking questions, I started discovering answers. And in the process, I discovered my purpose. All right. And that has helped me so far in my life. So after discovering my purpose, the reason for my living, my plans changed from having ambitions to having vision. Before, my goals and my desire was about myself. But after discovering purpose, after the difficulty and the situation I faced when I was 15 years old, I changed my perspective and mindset about life. So instead of saying I want to get married, travel around the world, make millions of naira, it changed from ambition to vision. And I capturing vision. I started about my life. It's like how I'm going to impact young people. How will help young people discover purpose. How I'm going to write hundreds of books. How I'm going to travel around the world to impact lives. And I discovered something. Many young people or many people, even leaders, wait for bad things to happen to them, wait for difficult situations to come before they start asking critical questions. And I tell people that the quality of the answers you get is dependent on the quality of the questions you ask. Most of you have different questions about your life. You have not been able to answer those questions because you've been able to answer those questions because you've been asking the wrong questions. All right. So I started asking the right questions that why am I in this world? What am I created to do? And guess what? That was when my leadership journey started. My leadership journey started when I stopped bothering about my own self alone. I started thinking about how I can impact life, how I can influence people. And let me tell you something, God is not committed to your ambition. God is only committed to your vision. Leaders, great leaders you know in the world today, people like Mahatma Gandhi, people like Nelson Mandela, people like Mary Slessor, people like many amazing people around the world, they have visions. They are not driven by ambition because your ambition dies with you, but your vision always outlive you. See what Martin Luther King Jr. did. After years, his impact, his effect is still felt today. What Mahatma Gandhi did in India, what all these amazing people, what Nelson Mandela did in South Africa, it still felt because they were not driven by ambition, they were driven by vision. And how do they drive their vision? They drive it through the power of storytelling. They're able to use their story about their experience, all right, to transform life, to influence people. All right. So what I just did now is that I just shared a story of my life because based on the experience I had when I was 15 years old, in the last few years of my life, I've been able to build an organization, teams of international in over 80 states in Nigeria. Through my write-ups, I've reached over 35 million people, inviting them through my words and my story. Also, I've written about 5 books, sharing my story, and I remember something very interesting about telling your story. This, I told me that you are on story for the online. A few weeks ago, someone I was checking my name online, and I discovered someone from America got a copy of my book and did a video series on it. The book was not about me sharing my story. She was talking about my story on the video. You can check the purpose during teenager. She was talking about my story and my book. All right. In fact, I wrote the book in Nigeria, and that book is impacting people around the world. That is the power of telling your story, knowing your vision for life, and use your story to influence people for that vision.
Okay, sir, you're back. Thank you.
Okay, very simple for the basic transmission. All right, so let me go to the arts of the matter now. All right, so I told you my story to know the power of storytelling. My story has helped me to speak about my organization in places, has helped me raise sponsorship. We currently have about 300 volunteers working with us to impact lives. But what did it is
Wow.
storytelling. I share my story. Okay, when I'm going for preaching my ideas to people, I share my story, and because of the authenticity of my story, the truth in my story, and my story is connected to a vision of influencing people. I'm able to raise people for my cause. I'm able to influence people in the right direction towards creating change. So as a leader, I can tell you your influence will increase 100 times if you can know your story and tell it without unshamelessly. Like some people are scared and shameful to share their story. You know what I'm saying? So please, the next few seconds, I'll show you the framework for telling your story. So first and foremost, what is storytelling? Storytelling is the art of using narratives to convey your ideas, your emotion, and messages in a way that engages and influences people. If your story is not influencing people, you are not telling story. I remember John C. Maxwell said something. He said that a leader that is going without a follower is not a leader. Because you are actually a leader when your words, your action influence people. So if you are going alone and saying, nobody's volunteering, nobody's sponsoring me, nobody's supporting me, it means that you're not telling your story. Or maybe you are telling your story, but you're not telling it in the right way. All right. So that's storytelling. The end result of storytelling is what? Influence. And let me tell you something. The end result of leadership is influence. How can you say that leader when I influence people? How can you say leadership is an influence game? You must be able to influence people for a specific cause. So I can that through storytelling. And let me tell you something. Effective storytelling includes a clear message. For you to know you are telling story, all right, story that impacts, it must include a clear message. What do you want the audience to learn? Most people tell story without a goal, without an aim. So when you don't understand the goal, how do you think you can convey and influence people when you are not influenced by your story? In
Yes,
fact,
sir.
true story influence the teller before those who are listening. If your story is not influencing you, it can influence other people. So, effective storytelling has a clear message. What do you want the audience to learn? Number two, it has emotional connection, engages feelings and experience. Because see, people don't care what you know until you care about how you make them feel. They care about how you make them feel. So, if you are saying you don't touch something to your mind, their emotion, you know it. So, you must have that connection with the listener. Story, I feel emotional because I can imagine my son because guess what? I'm sorry. The first thing what I'm telling people that listen have seen themselves in your story. So you must be able to tell your story because when they see themselves in your story, they see you as someone that can take them off a specific direction. So your story is powerful. You create your story, especially if that's emotional connection. Number three, your story must have a structured flow. It must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So most of you, your story not impactful because you just say it anyhow, no direction. All right. So very quickly, why does storytelling matter in leadership? Why does storytelling matter in leadership? Let me quickly go there. Number one is story make messages memorable. The story I shared in the beginning, there are people that can tell that story more than me. Because I've shared everywhere I go to. Whenever I'm saying something, people are telling me because I have seen severally and they have been influenced by it. How I was in my life, I had a ambition, I can't say my mindset, I'm telling you, I'm happy because I know my life is influencing people. But it started with being able to communicate my story and my experience. So story makes messages memorable. Facts fade, but stories stick. If I tell you today that 20% of people are suffering, 30% of people in the world don't have electricity, if I'm saying all these things, you can easily forget. But if I connect a story to it, how I was about to work on a project and they took light and I almost lost that project until something happened. You always remember that compared to coming up with charts and X degree, Y degree, people forget that. So facts fade. Despite facts is important, but story sticks. All right. Example, think about Martin Luther King Jr. When I was 16 years old and I discovered my purpose, I read biographies of great men. Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr. I read their stories and they influenced me. That's why, as I am like this, one of my goals by 2030 is to influence 1 million young people in Nigeria. And currently, I'm working towards that. But why could I dream big? It's because I have read stories of great men that have influenced me. So sometimes, if I feel like giving up, if I experience challenges, I knew that those men experience challenges too, but they scale through. So me too, I can scale through. Are you getting what I'm saying? So stories make messages memorable. All right. Imagine Martin Luther King Jr. I have a dream. He said it about in the 1940s, but now people can still remember it now. I have a dream. What's your own dream? How are you telling your story? Number two is that stories create emotional connection. All right. People don't follow ideas; they follow the emotion behind the ideas. So imagine you connect your ideas, your big vision. You want see Elon Musk. People prefer not to get money, they prefer working with Elon Musk without getting paid. Because Elon Musk want to take people to the space. See that big vision. And he has a reason with that behind it. He said he's trying to save humanity from extinction. People want to be part of big something. All right. So they want to feel why you're trying to save lives. I want to be part of it. See, People are not joining not because you don't have money to pay them. You are not creating an emotional connection with your story. I'm telling you, between yesterday and today, over 100 people have volunteered into my organization. Currently, they are still following because I posted something yesterday that we are going on an outreach. I thought the story of how that outreach is going to impact people, and people are ready to come on board. So some of you, you just your product, you just talking about your product. You don't talk about the benefit. You don't. There's no emotional connection. You're not talking about how the problem affects people, because people don't care about what you are saying. They care about how it matters to them. I'm telling you, if you like want to change the world, how does changing the world matter to them? I saw a what I read that was younger. He said that people resist change, especially if those other things will help them. So you want to change something in your organization, you want to do something, that change, people resist change. But if you find out how that change will help you, assist them, they will connect. So what change you want to do in your organization or what change to create the world? Find the way to get a story around it. I understand you. Okay, power of storytelling in action. I'm telling you, I have mentored young people, and I've noticed that every time I hear my story about how I was broke, about how I was stressed about life, and how I get an idea. You see young people say, sir, this is my vision for my life, this is my purpose for my life, this is my goals, because they were influenced by it. And that is that although the thing is that most times those emotions may not last, but let me tell you something, you have created an impact because emotion is powerful. Let me tell you the science of emotion. There's a part of your brain called amygdala. Amygdala is what you feel emotional. Alright? So that's why the bad experiences your life and the good experiences your life, they affect your amygdala. That's why you remember them. Do you know what I'm saying? So the part of your brain that's called amygdala that is the seat of your emotion. So once you are telling people stories and it's touching that area, so it leaves an impact in their life that will never forget. So it's important because this storytelling is not just the normal. There's a science behind it. It influences people for action. Do you get what I'm saying? I remember the story. I don't know if you have heard the story of a great warrior that was going to fight a battle. After they crossed the ocean, like it's about like 10 to 100 soldiers, 10 soldiers to 100 soldiers. So the man said, believed that maybe Roman warrior, I can't remember this specific person. So he believed they're going to conquer. So guess what? They crossed the bridge and they burnt the bridge behind them. I don't know if you know the story. They burnt the bridge behind them in the enemy's land. But guess what the leader did? He told them that he gave them the impression that they are here to win because they don't have a home they're going back to. Either they fight or they die. He told them about how it will affect their children. And guess what? An army of about 10 destroyed an army of over 100 because of how the leader was able to tell his story, how it affects the individuals, and how it was. It inspired action and they conquered. I'm telling you the power. It doesn't matter who is against you. What matters is what story are you telling. It doesn't matter the project that is in front of you. It doesn't matter the challenges that are in front of you. Your question is that what story are you telling? Because story can influence countries, it can influence cultures, it can influence our people. All right. So very quickly, how storytelling shaped our lives. All right, how storytelling shaped our life. When I was younger, my daddy has always told me something. He tells me that Mordecai, you are a world changer. You are going to travel around the world to impact the world. Guess what? Since when I was a young boy, everything I do has a touch of global. I'm currently building about 5 companies. Both my organization global, my books global, my books already ready in 12 countries. But because of the story that my dad told me about how we are a family of greatness, that story influenced everything I do. Even when I was transferred to a village to serve, all right, I made sure I impact the world there because I told myself that, wow, I'm a family of greatness. Anywhere we go, we create change. You remember the story of tortoise and the hair you've had when you are younger? Most of those stories taught you about patience, how not to love food too much, how to all those stories still influence people. So story has the ability to influence. All right. So story shapes our lives. You must know that. Be careful of the story you hear. If the story is not going to shape your life, run away from it because it will run a script. Some of you, your daddy have told you, your parents have told you that you are useless. Most of you, even though you are leading the organization, you still feel useless because of that story. So you must know that story is powerful. Anybody that is telling the wrong story, that is not telling you a story about your greatness, be ready to run away or leave that conversation because the story will affect your life. Some of you now, the problem you are in is called the story you have been telling yourself. Let me tell you, tell yourself a different story. All right, tell yourself a different story. I see myself as a great person. I'm going to travel around the world. I'm going to impact lives. That is the story I'm telling myself. And guess what? It's playing out. It's playing out. So I say that stories affect, shape your identity and values. Number two, stories help you overcome challenges. I told you about the biographies I read about Abraham Lincoln. See, let me tell you something about Abraham Lincoln. He couldn't speak well. He was a farm boy. He had to practice. Sometimes he stammers. But he became one of the presidents. Is it 46? I can't remember the number. Maybe 10th president of the United States. Despite the challenges he faced. And I tell myself, Mordecai, you are not perfect. You can't speak fluently or you are still trying to. It doesn't matter. Many people can go through it and succeed. You can go through it. See, if not because of that, I would have not done what I am doing now. Do you get what I'm saying? So stories are powerful, all right, because it helps you overcome challenges. The third reason why stories are powerful is that storytelling helps legacy, all right. The greatest leaders leave behind stories, not strategies. Let me tell you this again. The greatest leaders in the world, they leave behind the greatest stories, not strategies. How many people can remember the strategies of Martin Luther King Jr.? How many people can remember the strategies of what's her name, Mother Teresa? But remember the story of Mother Teresa helping people in India that are suffering. And Martin Luther King Jr. was shot because of his belief. We can't remember their strategies. We remember their story. I want to ask you a question today. When you are gone, what will people tell about you? What story will people tell about you? You can shape that story. See, let me tell you something that is shocking. There are people that did bad things when they were in this world, but they told a story. That people don't care about the source. As long as a story, they embrace it. So when people that did negative things in this world could tell a story that is showing people in a good light, how much more you that is impacting life that you can't tell your story. Some of you are afraid to tell your story. Some of you think your story don't matter. Let me tell you, it matters. It may be one person that you influence that will influence 1 million people. You may say nobody care about your story. As long as you care, someone out there care. Because something about human being is that we have connections. People see themselves in your story. I'm telling you, people see themselves in your story. The most important is that don't be afraid to tell your story because what's her name? I can't remember her name, but he said something. Say what tragedy of life that many people live an untold story. They die without telling their story. What a tragedy! Don't let that be you. As I begin to round up, what is the practical framework for sharing your story? I'm talking about storytelling now. What is the practical framework for telling your story? But before I share that, you must know 4 things. How to use storytelling as a leader. How to use storytelling as a leader. Number 1, you must be authentic. Your story must be authentic. See, people will know it. I'm telling you, people will know it. People will know it. So it must be authentic. People connect with really vulnerable stories. And let me tell you something. Some people are afraid to share some stories. They say they don't want people to see. Leaders, please, leaders, never forget this. Don't be afraid to share your story. You think that you want to appear strong in front of people. It's not your strength that inspire people. Sometimes it's your vulnerability. You try to appear perfect, create a gap between you and your followers. But when your followers can see that the struggles they face, you face it too, they will be more inclined to follow you. So please be authentic. Don't be afraid to share your story. Be vulnerable, although it has to a limit, all right? But be vulnerable. Share the struggles you face. Share the experiences you had. And share how you overcome it. It inspire people. Number 2, when telling your story, know your audience. This story I'm telling now, there's some people, I can't tell it in front of some people. Know your audience because you must connect to people. So imagine I'm telling story to people who are pregnant women now. They might understand some things I'm saying. But I'm talking to youths here. I'm talking to leaders here. You are understanding what I'm saying because you are a leader. I know my audience. So know your audience. Tell stories that resonate with their experiences because you have something to tell. Number 3, keep it simple and clear. The best stories are easy to remember. Don't share too much details. Don't be saying, sometimes don't be saying, I remember I was wearing black shirt, wine. It doesn't matter. You can say that I remember in 24th of Friday, 1992, by 80, something doesn't matter. Do you get what I'm saying? So keep it simple and clear. Number 4, use emotion and imagery. Help people see and feel the story by the words you say, by the that how you flavor it with your words, imagery, and using pictures. All right. Number 5, end with a call to action. Every story must inspire change. As leader, your goal is change. We are created to create change, to impact people. So every story you tell must end with a call to action. That means what is that thing you want them to do differently? What is that thing you want them to change? All right. If you don't end the call to action, let me tell you something. All the emotions, they'll just feel it and forget. I'm telling you, they'll feel it and forget. End every story with the call to action. Now, how should you tell your story? There's a different frameworks, but I will share one of the framework I used when I was applying to Chevening. There's a scholarship called Chevening. I applied 3 years ago. I didn't get it, but I was one of the top people that had got to the last stage of the interview. But there's something, I was able to get to that level because I was telling my story in a particular format, and they call it the STAR framework. The STAR framework. I'm trying to get here. The STAR framework. So the S for the stars talks about a situation. That means what's the situation? All right. When you tell a story, do it through the STAR framework. STAR. 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 S stands for situation. What is the situation? So, for example, in 2020, I'll use an example. In 2020 and in 2019, I was posted to a village in Nigeria to serve my country for 1 year. When I got to the village, it was across the river. When I got to the village, there was no light there, no network there. Again, I noticed that young people, once they finish their secondary education, they get pregnant. You will see 16 years old. I remember a 16 years old telling me she has committed, she has committed abortion 3 times. A 16 years old person. I remember a young boy, a 14 years old boy, he was into courting. One day, he went to fight other people and he came back home dead. When I got that village, I saw the situation of things and I told myself, I must change this thing before I leave this state in this 1 year. So that's the situation of things. That's S. Now the task. T stands for task. That means what did you do? So the task I did was that I set up an organization called Things on Purpose International. Every Saturday in the community, I gather all the teenagers and start impacting them, teaching them about leadership, teaching them about academics, teaching them about beyond the village. There's a greater life out there that they are going to create change in the world. They should not let the poverty in their community or the mindset of the village people affect them. All right. So I hold conference programs with them, I write books with them every week. Honest program with them. And A stands for action, all right? Action. That was the action. So I there was a mistake. That task was that I want them to do. So what I wanted to do is that I set up clubs, I set up an organization, all right? I set up a book club today. The action was that I hold programs with them every weekend. I would gather them for 2 hours every weekend for 1 year till I left that place. And guess what? The arrow stands for results. Arrow stands for results. The result was that I was in the community. Many young people, all the young people, they had life. They were from the community because they know that something was. The rate of pregnancy leads to some extent. They on this video. They were interested in reading books. Even after the village 4 years ago, they made me to for their results. I get what I'm saying. Ask what is the situation? What situation are you in? Right? What do you do to get this situation? Action. What do you do? And results. What is the result of what that is? And don't forget, you must call to action. That means what can we do different now? Right? And that framework was for to tell your story as I begin to round up because I know my time is gone already. Is what I call the struggle, the turning point, and the resolution. The struggle talks about describe the challenges you faced. For example, as a young boy, I was clueless about life. I suffered a lot. I went through a lot. All right, I couldn't afford. That's not my story. I'm just give an example. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the situation. The challenge I faced. All right, just learn that struggle. Ensure that engage them emotionally because they find it relatable. Don't just tell people what you have achieved. And I have, for example, I've impacted over 10,000 young people. I've written 5 books. My books are read in 12 countries around the world. My posts have reached over 35 million people in 101 countries. That is my story now. But it didn't start that way. As 10 years ago, I was confused and clueless. 10 years was story. That time when you failed your exam, okay? That's your struggles. Second thing is the point. What for you? For me, what is that? something, one advice, you read a book, what about your life, right? She is defining moment that change everything. And this is something that you what is the lesson and call to action? So, for example, after everything now, I tell people that discover purpose. Before you start living, before you find life, before you start an organization, before you start a relationship, discover purpose because purpose determines everything. Purpose determines what you study in school. Purpose determines what you fight for. Purpose determines what to talk about. So that's my call to action. And guess what? I've written books about that, about purpose. That's the call to action. Discover purpose. I've written living a life driven by purpose. But you have to do it about purpose. When they inspire people. As I round up, don't forget. Every social media space, you tell your story. 80% of my volunteers, I've never seen them before, but I share my stories online, and they were influenced by it and join my cause. I've not seen most of them before. They all appreciate, even though I'm changing day because of the power of storytelling. So please leverage your life with today or this week. Take us this week, next week, I want to share my story. And you can leverage ChatGPT, AI tools. Tell this AI, tell it your story, and tell ChatGPT to refine it for you using the STAR approach. And please post it. Talk about your work. Talk about your organization. Talk about the change you are creating in your community. Talk about it. You don't know who will see it, all right, and support you and sponsor you or come to your aid or tell people about you because there are things that you are not, but people are there and they can tell people about you. Let me tell you something. Your post, Barack Obama can be reading it. Because President of the nation can be reading because it's social media. Leverage it on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Your post can go viral. Your story can go viral. And it's not dividing popularity. It's about purpose behind it. How this is my help you impact more people. How can to your work? Every that is a storyteller. Your personal experience and more personal experience. They matter. Your pain matter. Your pain comes the pain of that people. Your test can become your testimony. When your mess can be messed that influence people. When you don't know about it, you got it. Everybody has something inside of them. And your purpose in this life tells that.
Can you hear me? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Mordecai. I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. So we have two questions. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly now.
Okay, good. So we have two questions. So the first question is based on leadership. Yeah, you made a lot of points while you were speaking, but in summary, based on your experience, based on what you've gone through and what you've been through, how would you define leadership in such a time as this, in our generation like this?
Okay, so in fact, I tell you something that you are in this generation because this generation is understand that first. You were not born in the 19th century or in the 18th century when there was war and stuff like that. You are in this generation because this generation needs you. And you must understand something that because of the generation, because generation needs you, you have something this generation needs. You are a failure if you leave this world without putting something into the generation. Let me say that again. You are in this, you are not created because the generation wants you. You are created because the generation needs you. You are important. There's something inside of you that necessitated you being born into this world and this generation we are in now. In fact, there are more problems in this world than solutions. And that's why I tell people that the problem you see in this world because someone is not have not discovered their story, their purpose, or are not telling their story. Every problem you see in this world is because someone is not living their purpose. Someone is not telling their story. So if I'm to define what leadership is now, all right, leadership is being able to know the problem in this world, find out how what is inside of you can solve that problem and tell it. Do you know what I'm saying? Internet makes it easier for you now. So you're saying that there's a problem around you, there's a problem in the community. Leadership is able to understand the problem in the community because your problem that you're solving must impact lives. So the idea a leader the environment or the world is. And something is just made of your opportunities, the problem that is there, and how the solution that is inside of him can solve those problems. And then tell the story about it. Tell that again. Anywhere you are, leadership is being able to look at your environment, your world, look at it deep enough, look at the problems and the opportunities that exist in it, and then connecting it to the uniqueness inside of you to bring a solution to those problems, and then telling that problem, telling about that solution. Do you get that, what I'm saying? So let me tell you something. Miracle. There's a problem I will see today that I will not feel anything about it, that you will see, that you feel about it. There are people like, if you hear young people say that they've not eaten since morning, it touched them. It touched me too, but it can't touch me. Some people can start crying. You know what I'm saying? So there's a problem in this world, but there's something that's connected to that problem. Once you find that problem and say, you're not complaining about it, but you're complaining about it, it's not that you created the changes. The problem you complain about is not created change. So a leader is someone that can find that problem, right, in their world, and then look at the solution inside of them to provide solution answers to that problem, and then tell stories through social media, through anywhere about the problem they are solving, the solution they are bringing to the table. Please, that's my own leadership, because why the essence of a leader when you cannot provide solution to the problem you are facing and then tell people about it so they can draw more people to your cause. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mordecai. So the last question we're going to ask you is this. We always ask our speakers this question before we let you go. Is, in your experience so far, what advice? You've worked with a lot of people, you've dealt with a lot of people, you've helped a lot of young people, you've worked with a lot of people, companies, and other organizations and all. What advice can you give to young people in this generation? What would you tell someone? And what's something that you knew or something that you know today that you feel like you want a larger audience to really know, a knowledge or a wisdom you've discovered?
Okay, so I love this question and I'm really excited about it. So please, many young people are pursuing one thing. I can say 90%, if not all young people, they are pursuing one thing. They are pursuing success. They want to be successful. But the problem we face is that they lost the definition of what success is. Many young people, the emergence of the internet and other things, they see success as having Lamborghini and stuff like that. Many people see success as being popular, having millions of followers. When you post, millions of people engage. They see success as having millions of dollars, being on television, paparazzi opening doors and stuff like that. And that's why they are desperate for it. That's why many young people involve themselves in wrong things to get success. But let me tell you something. You don't pursue success, all right? You attract it by who you are becoming. You don't pursue success. You attract success by who you are becoming. And what attracts success is purpose. Without purpose, no matter the success you achieve in this world is meaningless. Success in this world is in the discovery and fulfillment of purpose. That means you have you have millions of followers you have, if this fame you have, the purpose and not the success benefit. So, let me say that they all attract. If you are not fulfilling purpose, no matter what you have, you are a failure. And what's the purpose? Being able to talk with them, inspire people, change lives. This life is not about you, it's about other people. Let me tell you something. Once you start living with this mindset that your goal is to help people, to transform life, to be an agent of change, so you will attract success. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and righteousness, and all other things. That's what I'm looking for. Not of purpose. You are looking for that love. It's not volunteer or volunteer. It's on the part of purpose. That money, that whatever you desire is on the part of purpose. So young people, stop pursuing success, pursue purpose, and everything you seek will be added onto it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Mordecai. He said, stop pursuing success, pursue purpose, and every other thing will be added on to it. thank you so much, Mr. Mordecai. I'm really grateful. I want to say thank you very much for everyone who's joined us, and those on Facebook, those on YouTube. Thank you so much. We're really grateful, and most importantly, I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Mordecai. I'm really grateful for creating time. I mean, you could have had a lot of things to do, and but for the fact that you created time to be here, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we're going to let Mr. Mordecai go now without wasting much time, and we'll hope that one day we'll have him again. Thank you so much. I think Mr. Mordecai has gone already, but I mean, thank God we are done already. So thank you so much once again. See you guys some other time. Bye.